Obviously, when I'm talking about addiction and homelessness and I'm talking about mental health, like, you know what I mean, and all that kind of struggle, because a lot of my songs is about that. May, it's mental health month as well, like, you know what I mean, there's a lot of people struggling out there. And men don't talk about that stuff, like, you know, suicide awareness, like, you know, we have a tendency, you know, to have this masculine exterior, like, you know, now I'll hold it all in for whatever reason. There's no expression, like, you know, there's nobody to talk to half the time. It's not even that. And sometimes there is people to talk to, but it's just, men, they feel like they want to hold it all in, like, you know what I mean, because there's that perception of masculinity that to allow that vulnerability to be seen somehow makes you weak and can put a target. And if you're from rougher areas, like, you know what I mean, you're less likely to express what you're going through and be like, you're a fucking idiot, shut your mouth.
Because that's what I was going to say to you. Do you think that that's more prominent in men in working class areas?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I do.
Here, fuck off, will you? Fresh, yeah?
Shut the fuck up!
People have a tendency to want to, you know, protect themselves, and it's an armour you put on, isn't it? Like, nothing can hurt you, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just a rough area, working class thing, because I was living in Portmarnock in a gated community for about 3 years during COVID. There wasn't much fucking speaking going on there.
I'd say it's more prevalent. I wouldn't say it's just working class, but I'd say it's more prevalent in working class.
The holding on to it.
The holding on to it and the perception of being tough, like, you know. So I'd say it's more, and that's the way the world has gone regardless. No matter where I've lived, whether it's rough areas or not, people have a tendency to want to keep themselves to themselves. And a lot of them, it's on social media all the time. They're given the perception of what their life is like through social media. It's nearly through proxy, like, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, I have this great life. Look at this car, look at this holiday, look at this. It's when when the lights go off and you're left with your own mind in your room. Who's there with you? Nobody. You're there by yourself. You have to battle your own demons then. Like,
I love that. I love being left with myself. Like, you know, I had the time there before Christmas to just lean into myself. I loved it. You know, now I have to say I'm in recovery. I have a place to go. Like, I went to meetings at that time and I expressed myself, you know.
Yeah.
Just in the last couple of days, like, I've been going to a lot of meetings, and just the level of stuff that you're talking about there, that people seem to be getting lambasted at the minute with a lot of heavy stuff, you know, and people are struggling. And I think what's great about talking about it is that sometimes even when I'm speaking about it and I'm hearing myself saying it, I work it out.
yeah.
You know?
Just saying it out loud, like, you give yourself the answer near enough, like. But it's not even that. How lucky are we? I'm in recovery myself, as you know. I was 28 months there the other day, and I woke up and I was like, how fucking great is it to be just somewhat content? Not financially, like, I'm fucking on me bollocks, like, you know what I mean, and things in my life aren't great, but just to be content and at peace with who I am, discovering who I am today. And like, when you talk about the likes of meetings, how lucky are we to have the meetings to go to?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We can go and sit in and we can talk about what shit is going on for us, like, you know what I mean? And we get that human connection, and that's what I'm talking about. When people are using, you know, social media as that proxy, like, you know what I mean? How did he, like, actually have it? We're social creatures as humans. We need that connection. We need that sense of belonging, like, you know? And how are you getting that? You know what I mean? If you're not getting it, you know, from people around you, or being, you know, that camaraderie, like, you know, to feel like you're part of something other than yourself, and then you're going to slide into isolation, like, you know, and that's not a good place. It is, when you're talking about, you know, you enjoy your own time in your own company. I do would, like, you know, go for a nice walk. Like, if I'm going somewhere, I won't wait for the bus, I'll take the walk, and I'll, you know, have a listen to the music as I'm walking, and I love having a bit of time to myself. But only when you're in a good place, that's great. Do you know what I mean? But when you're not in a good place mentally, who wants to be on their own?
What do they say? Your head is like a rough area. Don't go in there on your own.
100%, yeah.
But come here, I'm at the thinking there while you were talking, you know, like a Gogglebox show, but it's people have to give up their phones, social media and all that kind of stuff, and you have to talk about what that day was like. I went to the shop and I spoke to a human being, you know, and I had a bit of crack with somebody. I think that'd be deadly.
The only time I ever had that experience when I was going into treatment and letting go of your phone going into treatment. When you're going into rehab, it's like, oh, Sake.
The last text.
Yeah, just, trying to make the last text a phone call. I'm like, wait, hold on, I'll give it to you now. Wait, I just need to text me man. Yeah, texting people, look, I'll be away for a few weeks, I'll give you that few quid when I'm out. You know what I mean? Trying to get, I hope he doesn't think about that leaving the country.
Gives me man your nickname for
drug dealer.
Mother. So that's what they call them in train spotting, mother.
Yes. Mother superior, yeah.
So come here, it sounds like there's a balance to be found between being in your own head, being on your own, being in isolation, but we're social creatures, but we use social media, which isn't very social, to talk about the stuff that we want everyone to hear, but we hold on to the other stuff that we don't want anyone to hear, that we're afraid to fucking look at ourselves sometimes. And you are lucky to have the meetings, to have the rooms, to have whatever program you use, because some people don't fucking know what their thing is. They don't know what their fucking malady or their sickness or their disease. And what a fucking beautiful place to be in that you do.
Yeah. And it's like, and don't get me wrong, like, yeah, I'm content and I'm on a journey, like, of trying to discover how I am. But I suppose coming into recovery, I didn't know my arse from my elbow. Do you know what I mean? I would have been, I left Ballymun, about 14. I'm the odd guy, drinking every weekend, smoking a few joints, all that. But that was my level of interaction with drugs. Even though heroin was rampant, I was up in Poppentry, up in Balclare, and then there'd be the horses, the bikes. There was loads of other adrenaline-seeking stuff to do, you know what I mean? The weekends, we'd get a few flagons down them, like, Whereas my mates would have a few, they'd probably get sick and go home. Like, I would stay till I was plastic, blacked out. Like, I've often woke up on the field bonfire on my own, you know what I mean? And it's that kind of level, when you're taking it to that extreme, you're doing it to get oblivion, you're doing it to black out. And when I moved into town, like, I was interacting then. And the same thing, you're going into a rough area, you're people sticking the chest out, you know what I mean? People messing with you, who are you, where are you from? And I got in with a crew, like, in town, and it wasn't long before I was down there, and you know what I mean? So, Jason, I was about 14, I think, when I left Ballymun, and by 16, I was on the City Clinic in Amiens Street. I was playing. Yeah.
Doing E, doing speed, doing cocaine, mix it with alcohol, and go insane.
Yeah, 100%. Anything that was put in front of me, it was too... Oh, yeah, what's that? Yeah, no, the peer pressure of wanting to be accepted, because the move from Ballymun into town, and then with the town crew, then I was going to seeking that, approval off me peers, like, and I just dove head first into it.
Like that little dog out of the cartoon going,
yeah.
What's next?
Pick me.
Eddie, I remember you as a kid in the U Club. There was a gangies that was when we started the U Club in the flats. Remember?
Yeah.
Like we had 2 flats.
Why don't
We had 2 flats, and we used to go over. There's no windows around in the flats, and we just steel shutters, and we used to go over every Saturday and fix it up. We used to go out for camping. Oh man, it was savage. Yeah, it was savage. It was deadly. I remember getting bit in lockdown, and I had an allergic reaction, right, to this fly bite, right? My whole body blew up like the midget like that, right? And I drove the van home like fucking just nuts. And when I got home, I had to go to Ballymun, and I got this antihistamine injection, and the doctor said to me, "Don't drive." And I said, "All right, I won't drive." But the old fuck you, you know what I mean? So get into the car, and I'm driving back to my dad's, and I said, "Oh fuck, I shouldn't have drove," right? So I pulled the car over to the side of the road and got over and walked around, right? And my dad, because it was over, like, my dad said, I gave him the keys, and I says, "My car's parked against the curb down on Dundanny Road," right? And he went around and got it, right? And he said it was in the middle of the road. There was cars stopping and having to go around it like an abandoned car, But yeah, there were good times, and I remember that crew, like that, that was and I'm still in touch with nearly all of you, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Still, you're talking there about social media, Dean, and I think social media has some positives, and like keeping in touch with people is always good. But you were talking there, Dean, about people trying to express themselves, on social media. What I find is the polar opposites that happen. You have people putting up things, "Oh, we're doing darkness into light this week for people's mental health," and then 5 minutes later, then they're calling a politician a human being an absolute scumbag. There's no thought for that human being's mental health or anything like that. You know what I mean? And I find that kind of, I don't know whether it's hypocritical or what do we say, cognitive dissonance or whatever you want to call it. It's I find that mad. I find that people will give out about bullying and then 20 seconds later, they're bullying my child, and next thing then they'll start slaughtering a politician or something like that, and not even, a politician, it's just, I find it very slaggy, and I find it very open space for bullying. I think it was Plato or something like that he wrote this play, and it was about faceless people, and they could say anything they wanted because nobody knew who they were,
Like the Ku Klux Klan.
There you go.
It was a simple up and
yeah, this is years. Yeah, exactly. So you have, but this was that you could say what you want. You could say anything.
It's like a broadcast. It's like walking up to somebody with a microphone. Right, you've got 2 seconds to say something. What are you going to say? You're not going to say, "I love everyone." You're going to say, "That bitch is a cunt."
yeah.
See a man who stole me marbles back in 6th class, you're getting it when I find you. I'm not mad into politics, but what I do love to do is, if somebody's talking, you know what I mean, they'll say something probably about Trump, and I'll use it. Yeah, he's deadly, isn't he? I love him. Because the majority of people just dive on it, and they'll be like, "What you mean? What's that supposed to mean?"
You were looking for a bit of aggro.
Oh, well, I love to winding people up, when they're talking, I just like throwing in a little grenade and watching their reaction, you know what I mean?
I was talking
to so walked up,
it's crazy. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were giving out about refugees, and I said, they should just ban planes, just stop people travelling. They didn't know whether they were agreeing with me. They were just like, "Oh no, I'm actually booked on a holiday to go to Spain." And
ban them after that.
What's the ultimate one of them? Max Savage was in the car with the taxi driver, and the taxi driver was giving out about black people, and he goes, "You think that's bad? Sure, I fuck kids." So, talking about winding people up, let's wind it back a bit. Eddie Winston, thank you very much for coming in, brother.
Thanks for having me.
It was great to see you when you came in, because Sparky said, "Do you remember Eddie?" And I was like, "Yeah, I remember growing up with you, in Ballymun, in the fucking, what age are you now?"
Me, 44.
44. So you would have been, the 80s would have been your domain when you were a kid. So, bring us right back.
Yeah, when you're talking about, I suppose, back in the day, Ballymun was just a mad out spot, you know what I mean?
And it's not now.
Well, you know what I mean? It's like everywhere now, Here the recent carry-ons and dreaming, you know what I mean? That's madness, you know what I mean? But back then it was the horses, the rob bikes, the car, scutting on the back of buses when it was snowing out with your leggings on, getting a lift down the road, all that kind of, I don't know if I'm looking back at it through this kind of euphoric recall, that it seems better than it actually was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you pulling up in your van saying, "Mom, we're going to the beach," on a nice sunny day, and he'd fling loads of us. Sparky would fling about 5 or 6 of us into the back of his van and drive to Ballymun, or, you know what I mean, one of the beaches, and we just go nuts in the water, I have all these great memories of Ballymun,
Your family lived here?
Yeah, my ma was up in Belclare, Green.
How many brothers and sisters?
Oh, there's 8 of us, you know what I mean, and I have a half brother and sister as well. So there's 10 of us all together. There was 8 of us that lived up there. Yeah, it was a mad outgaff. I remember one day I was in the bedroom and I was like, "Fucking, that's bleeding warm. It must be scorching outside, And I got up and the curtains was pulled over. So I thought it was a sunny day or something, a little bit of pulled open the curtain. The fucking shed was blazing in the back garden. The 2 younger brothers are going into the wooden shed and saying, "You tried to light a little fire in the, go camping out in the wooden shed." All the new bikes from Christmas were in the fucking shed. All the races, because there was 8 of us, so there was about 4 races and 4 mountain bikes, all brand new from the Christmas in the shed. And they went in to have a little camp out, little fire thing was blazing, it was.
Yeah, there was a certain naivety, a certain innocence, a certain lawlessness, and a huge kind of appreciation that we're all living this rough and ready life. Yeah. So seeing a horse in somebody's bleeding back garden, or hearing somebody's bleeding da running amok in the gaff or anything like that, it was that's just par for the course,
Yeah, and then you drop over for a bottle of milk the next morning if you are stuck, you know what I mean? It was all that kind of, that community was there, you know what I mean? But yeah, like that, you'd walk around and there'd be a horse in the garden just grazing your grass or something, this type of thing.
We had a unique time in the country because Ballymun was built as this utopia on the back of the failing tenements. And I know from watching the RTE programme that there is a link between the tenements in Henrietta Street and your family.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. My dad and his family grew up in the tenements. I'd say it's worse off. Like, I was watching the programme myself and I seen them all, thrown in the old cuddle together and the little room where they used to live, and there was 14, I think it's 13 or 14 in that family. So yeah, it's loads of us, like, I don't even know half my cousins. It's that many, that dotted everywhere, like,
And there's music in your family, isn't there?
Yeah, no, there is, like, I suppose, like, my cousins all play music, like, their father is Don Baker, so there is music, like, but all my family would have liked music, and my ma's side as well, being a lot of music, like, I would have listened to a lot of music growing up, like,
Where's your ma's family from?
They're Glasnevin, just down the road there, yeah.
And your dad's family is in town.
Yeah,
they're the rough nuts, are they?
Yeah. I don't know how he talked me man into it. should have been probably better class.
A bit of posh here for the town.
Yeah.
Your Ballymun journey lasted until about 14.
Yeah, it was about 14. Like, my mum and dad split up, like, and my mum was back working, like, and trying to rear us with the 8 of us, like, and up early in the morning, not back till the evening. And she had to move out of Ballymun. She moved into town, she got a chance at a house in town, she thought that was the better move. Unfortunately, like, it didn't turn out that way for me. For the rest of them, it probably did. They kind of kept their head down to a degree, like, and they went off and done their college and their school, and it was just slightly worded differently, I suppose.
I remember you, Eddie, you were very creative as a young person, like, and you were well able to hold conversations at a very young age, like, what I mean? Because I always remember myself and Dennis used to run the club with us, and he's a teacher, and he said it to me one day, he says, that young fella's vocabulary is bleeding. You were well able to talk, have debates and have understanding and all that kind of stuff, and mad creative. And then the other thing was you were mad at the music, I remember I would have had the guitar with me and you would have been trying to play the guitar and get it going. And when did the guitar come into it? When did you...
I suppose when I moved into town and I started getting into, into all the other drugs and substances I was taking, we started getting into crime a lot, like, just to feed the habit. I was robbing a lot. I was on the city clinic at the time. I was taking tablets. I was still topping up before taking heroin. I was all over the shop, like, and as you do, if you're out stroking out, you're going to get caught eventually, like, and so the first time I got sentenced, I went into Patrick's, and I remember going off to the school, and we seen a walk by, I think it was a kind of John, I think it rings a bell, but he was playing a song, and I just floated into the room, and I had a bit of time on my hands up there, like, I'd always wanted to play, even think back now to when you were playing the guitar and stuff and doing the music, I'd always wanted to, but I never had the head to sit down, when there was so much of I'd be distracted so easy. There'd be so much other stuff going on, like, I'd be always out the door, but yeah, up there I'd for the time on my hands, so I sat down and started giving her a bash, like.
What age were you when you went into Patrick's?
I think I was just turned 17 the first time I went in.
So it was an interesting journey between 14, leaving Ballymun, having to go back into town, and 17. Where in town were you?
Just off Dorset Street there, just right on the canal.
What's 14-year-old Eddie like?
14-year-old Eddie was off the bleeding wall, like, I was always looking for something happening somewhere, like, I couldn't stay in the house, I wasn't a great sleeper. I'd be up first thing in the morning, and I'd be out the door. I was never settled in myself, like, I was always out meeting people, like, for a while I was coming back out to Ballymun, but the killer of that was I was either cycling out on a bike or getting the bus, and when I got to Ballymun, my mates would be going in for their dinner and I'd be left walking around because I didn't live there anymore. I'd nowhere to go, so I'd be either standing at Fred's shop or the van, or I'd be fucking floating around. But it became very monotonous. I was coming out to Ballymun, I wasn't seeing my friends as much, and then I was just floating around a lot. Now, before I even left Ballymun, when I'm thinking about it, I was on the Mitch all the time. When my dad left the house, I just started going outside with school. I went out the door. Do you remember the monuments outside the camp? I'd be hiding up in them monuments, like, and trying to catch the letters, from the school coming in my ma's, like, because she'd be gone to work there if I wasn't there, so I'd be waiting on the postman to get the letter saying Eddie's not attending school.
What age were you when your dad left?
Around 9, I'd say.
And your ma, she gets all the kids?
Yeah, there was 8 of us.
Fuck.
When I think back to her, I don't know how she done it. Because she went back to work then full time, like,
Full time, 8 kids, in the 90s, in Ballymun.
Stop.
You were 9 years of age.
She's a bleeding legend.
Stop.
Their relationship doesn't work out. Does she ask him to leave, or does he?
So no, I never really got into it too much. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Me and my dad, like, you know, we weren't seeing eye to eye anyway, regardless. Like, you know, we always clashed, like, you know what I mean? So there was always some, but like, and saying that, like, you know, I was always up to something. I'd be robbing in crazy prices or something, you know, and or I'd be fucking out, you know, down in Santry Forest on the motorbikes, or, you know, because I always hung around with older lads in Ballymun, and they were always up to some form of mischief. Always out stroking.
I used to love that, hanging around with the older fellas, you know what I mean? You always hear that from people who went into alcoholism or addiction, that they hung around with older people.
Yeah.
Because the stuff that was going on with their own age wasn't cutting it, like, you know what I mean? And that's, you know, that was the same for me. I was able to hold down adult conversations with, you know, older people and all that kind of stuff. But then I'd be trying to impress them. And I remember the first time I drank, actually, we went up to the field. Like, I wouldn't go into the field where there was a bonfire. Like, I would have been terrified, like, you know. I would march in, like, you know, and we were singing songs, and they were like, bring that fella back tomorrow night. He's a great singer, right? And we get him singing again. And that was, alcohol gave me that confidence or whatever, or it took away the insecurity, like, you know. And I kind of stuck with that. But the mad thing was, I always knew I was in trouble with it. When did you realise that you were fighting a battle?
Trouble. It's weird, isn't it? Because fundamentally, you know, it was about, you know, look, in hindsight, you're looking back and you go, like, the first time I drank was in Palmtree Park, and I was with an older lad, and it was a bottle of Old Cellar. I think he used to be able to get the cream, or there was kind of these two types, and he was like, yeah, no, I had the money, you see. I used to fleece me out for, like, I used to sneak in, creep in the room, rob out a few quid out of his back pocket, because he always dealt in cash, like, you know what I mean, with his walk, and I'd like take, like, you know, 10 or 20 pounds, so I'd have money on the weekends, like, so the lads would be like, oh, we go to McDonald's, so we go over, and I remember the first time they got a gargle, and it was like a bottle of Old Cellar. Jeez, I think I'd already with 2 sups out, and I was bleeding floating in Palmtree Park. Yeah. And when I look back at that, I was really young, you know, I was really young, but it was always like much older lads. Say with him being about 17. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was probably around 12. Yeah. And then, like, you know, I'd jump out the back window, I'd be drinking up in the fields. You know, the 7 pitches used to have the raves up there, up in the pavilions. Used to be all coming back from fucking, they'd have DJs and all up there. The place would be fucking, fields would be bleeding, rocking up. They'd be all coming back from the asylum, like the after party, and the people would be fucking out on Mad Bastards up there. And the first kind that came around was the Mad Bastards, and they'd be bleeding. There should be gangs. I'd be floating around. And I remember at one stage, I don't even think I was drinking. I was just looking at all these head cases, jaws all going all over the gaff, going like you're in a different world, going, what the fuck?
Like, you're 13, you're 14.
Yeah.
When the rave scene was like at its peak,
yeah.
When there was Mad Bastards all over the country doing Mad Bastards, when there was raves 24 hours a day. Because I was a little bit older than you, and I was kind of standing back, and I would be like a chameleon as well, where I'd fit into any group and I'd make people laugh and da-da-da. And when we were about 14, 15, we moved from Ballymun into town, and I could see how you could get caught up in town really quickly, because I never got arrested in Ballymun. As soon as I went to town, John Strafford arrested me about 15 fucking times in one summer, like. And I'd be just doing exactly the same stuff, even less mad stuff I'd be doing in town, and I'd be getting arrested more. So it was kind of like a wake-up call going, what was the story going on in Ballymun there? You just had a fucking free reign of madness, like.
Yeah, you had a bit of freedom, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a bit of also fucking mental freedom. Like, I remember burning down a woman's house. She was off, something happened or whatever. We got into the gaff, kicked the bleeding chimney down, set the gaff on fire and all, and nothing fucking happened. Like if that happened now, if a gang of kids went into a gaff somewhere and kicked it down and burnt the gaff, it'd be all over the fucking news, like.
I was never at the pavilion, but I would have been hearing about it, you know, and I would have been hearing how it worked. Like, so the pavilion was a couple of containers that were welded together, and they were football changing room, and then the lads went in and took them over at night time, and they had a generator out of a local shop
and one strobe light at the back, and a set of vinyl decks, and just pumping the music out until the guards arrived.
And even when the guards arrived, the guards would pull up and they'd just go, "Shit, they're all grand. There's no, what, you know."
Yeah, I don't think the guards knew about ecstasy then. They were just going, sure, nobody's drinking, they're all grand. People
Nobody's fighting.
pilled out our
Nobody's fighting.
half naked, pilled out your mind, hugging everyone.
I don't think I was ever in the castle. I was in the castle once or twice, but that was another place that was wild, wasn't it? You know, it was just different.
I think there was an INLA vibe on the door up in the castle. We can say this now because there's no more castle.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I never actually ended up in the castle because by the time I moved from Ballymun into town, you know what I mean, and I was doing the rave scene. The rave scene was, for me, was kind of bleeding, going to Carcocks and the Point, going to Creamfields, like, you know what I mean? But that literally lasted, like, you know what I mean, till I got strung out and gear. Do you know what I mean? And that was like, within 6 months, like, we were down here, yeah, let's go to Carcocks, great, yeah, let's go down to Creamfields. And then every time we do the Oaks, like, you know, to be about 4 of us smoking a bag of gear, and we'd be down blowbacks and all the rest of it. You calm down, everything's great. But, that changed rapid, like.
So hold on, there's a journey there between doing ecstasy and then using heroin to come down because you've been doing so much ecstasy. Because I hung around with a group of lads, and at one point they were saying to me 20 ecstasy was what they were doing. And this is when ecstasy were quality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they were doing 20. These were all townies. And I ended up in Buchanan Place one night.
The Bronx.
It's like the Bronx. And it reminded me of the madness that was going on in the castle as well. It was kind of like a free-for-all hedonism.
Yeah.
Where there was just anything went. And in this flat that I was in Buchanan Place, and I'm sure I wouldn't surprise me if there's spots in Buchanan Place and places like that now.
Still.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But there was just a free-for-all. And at one point the music was playing and it was literally me. And it was like 6 hours of that. And there was people coming down and not able to come down.
What was that fella going past on a moped, was it?
Me, that was the music. At one point it didn't matter what the fuck, it was just stick something on because I've got so many yokes down my neck here.
Yeah.
And then the heroin creeps in. Somebody susses out if you smoke gear.
Yeah, you don't have to sit for hours.
You don't have to sit there for 2 days waiting for this stuff to wear off you.
Recently, there was a rave called The Speaker in the 7 Pitches, right? So the young people all got onto social media. There was a container in the field and they had a speaker beside the container and there was blokes from Cameron up on the roof. And it was very like what I would have heard about the pavilion, like, you know. But we went over, there was a couple of outreach workers and a few of us went over just to see what was going on, like, you know, because what was happening was we were looking on the ground the next day and we were looking at, there was loads of the fast gas, remember the little small silver bullets, there was loads of them. And so there was obviously alcohol, there was weed and stuff like that, but there was cards and tablets and all. You know, we were seeing what was being, you know, thrown aside, you know. I remember one night I was going somewhere and I was passing it and I seen a mate of mine from Swords, right, and he's a business dude, you know, and he has a big Jeep and he's standing there scratching his head and I said, what's the story? And he goes, my young one's in there. I was like, get her.
Whoa.
Get her up there. So she goes over, like, her name's Saoirse or something like that, you know, she's coming out and she's like,
You don't be bleeding ratting her out now.
Dad, it's amazing. Dad, it's amazing in there, like, you know, and I was like, get her out of there, like, you know. It was just, you used the word there, hedonistic, like, that's what it was, like, it was just this energy, like, you know, of people together. And I mean, when I was down in Alice Springs, they said there was no lockdown in Alice Springs. That's why everybody from Australia tried to get up to Alice because there was just no lockdown. They couldn't enforce it. And it's desert and you can do what you want, like, you know. But Ballymun was the same. There was no lockdown in Ballymun. You know, you had to stand 2 meters apart in the bank or in the shop or whatever. But other than that, it was scrambler to go, you know what I mean? So,
Listen, didn't stop the drug dealer selling it.
I was talking to one of the dealers in Ballymun saying to him, what's the story? Because there's no traffic out there's no cars, like, and it's obvious if something's coming up and down the motorway, you can see it from a fucking million miles away. And he goes, we have our networks, it's grand. And I was like, it's a whole world I don't see. And you seeing that world, you were in that world. You were at 14, 15, 16 years of age, you were steeped in it. You were out raving, you were out doing you were smoking gear to come down. And then what? Where did the journey take you?
I remember going into my ma and begging her to come down to Amiens Street with me, you know, to sign me onto the clinic because I knew I'd gone too far. What happened was I took E and I went into psychosis on the E, and I remember it because Garth Brooks was playing in Crow Park. I think it was 97, And Gar Brooks was playing in Crow Park and he was doing it. I remember it was a nice sunny day and we all dropped a load of yolks, but they were bogey yolks, like, and I went off the head and I couldn't come down for love nor money. I couldn't come down and I was in this fucking psychosis. I was seeing like I was mad delusion. I was seeing like murders happen. I was seeing weird shit, right? And I thought I was gone off the banger completely. I didn't think I was coming down and I was only spiraling. It was making me worse into the paranoia. And I think about 12 o'clock that night I started smoking gear to come down off. A fella gave me gear. That was the first time I kind of smoked it.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? And when I came down off it, the panic attacks started happening. But even after that, 2 days later, I was still seeing things that weren't, and my mind was just kind of slightly going sideways. I was saying things and I'd point them out to my friends and they'd be like, what are you talking about? And I was like, what's up with me? And I started getting panic attacks. So I started smoking gear. I started kind of self-medicating a bit. Now, that's not what led to me addiction, like, you know what I mean? But yeah, I had a hand in it, I'm sure, as well.
What do you mean it's not what led to your addiction?
Well, I was already kind of dabbling with tablets and I was on my way there anyway, you know, that kind of way. But I had addictive behaviours, like, you know, anything, I would take anything to get away from how I was feeling.
Yeah, because we mentioned a few things, like, I was thinking about the word hedonism and you said the word oblivion. What were you looking for? Why were you wanting to get obliviated?
I suppose, like, you know what I mean, like, most of the time there's a lot of violence in houses growing up and stuff like that, and I suppose what I will say about it is, like, you know what I mean, I ended up in a place where I just didn't like myself. Yeah, I didn't like who I was. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't want to die. I didn't want to live. I was in pain. I didn't, you know what I mean, I wanted the pain to stop, but I didn't want to die. And it was kind of anything that took me away from how I was feeling, because it was me whole outlook and me perception on myself, you know what I mean, that I was now good, you know, and when I'd look at me past behaviours, like robbing in the shop, doing these little things, like, they didn't sit with me morally, but I was still doing them, and because I was still doing them, that made me a bad person. So I didn't like who I was, you know, I didn't like who I was, and I kind of got to a point where I just disassociated from everything. I couldn't form connections with people because I was so guarded about how I was feeling. I'd shut down. And so when I was around people, you mentioned a comedian, that's what I'd be like. I would tell the jokes and I'd say what people wanted me to hear, but I would never say how I'm feeling about something, or if I liked something, or if I didn't. You know what I mean? I would be a people pleaser.
I remember I took acid microdot and I got close to psychosis. Fuck, it was difficult and it was hours and hours and I didn't know when to stop, and I was seeing stuff that was there that wasn't there, devilish stuff, and the next day I made a conscious decision going, that's far enough for me. I had that privilege, that perspective to go, that's far enough for me, because I had that love for myself, and I had that, now I am good, and I'm trying to put myself in your shoes where you go, right, we're going full tilt into this.
Yeah, it was more the clinic and the tablets then. For me, I became really, really wrapped up in that, the tablets and the clinic, and you know, I'd wake up and fucking down the Bridewell. I wouldn't even know what I was after doing. Do you know what I mean? I'd just wake up in the Bridewell, like, you know what I mean? And I'm hoping it's not a weekend, so I'm not stuck in there for the weekend waiting on Monday court, you know what I mean? Or else, you know, I'd wake up in custody in Patrick's, like, not knowing what the charge sheet was, because when I was taking so much in that, you know, like, it's scary when I think of it now. Be found dead in the lift here, or I found standing over.
Or somebody else to be found dead, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But when I look back at it, like, you know, I kind of say, fucking hell, how did I even make it through that? To be honest with you, when I was in my 20s, like, I went into, the first time I went into treatment, I was 21. I went into Coundar, right? And I was up there a few weeks ago doing music. I just talking to one of the nurses. She said, come up, do a few tunes. I went up, done a few tunes, had a chat with the girls and the fellas that was there, and I was just thinking, when I was in there, the Twin Towers happened, and I was in fucking Coundar, coming on me boy, clucking like a lunatic, and fucking, when I think about, I see at the time, I left Coundar, right, and I wouldn't go into, no, I don't need treatment, and I went to the bus stop after doing, I got me cert, you graduated from Coundar, and I bought methadone at the bus stop to celebrate that I was after doing treatment. That was me mental. I had no understanding of anything got to do with addiction. Oh no, I'm after doing 6 weeks of detox, I feel fresh out. How will I celebrate? You're selling for there, but bang, swallow. And not even a second thought that what I was after going through. You know, when they say pain has no memory, like, but even the lack of understanding of why I was even doing that, I couldn't wrap my head around. And that had been then a process, like, you know, of in and out treatment and going, how do I always end up back in the same place? Like, what's going on for me that, you know, I'm back on the clinic and I'm back in and back in. And when I was sitting there, I was thinking, I never expected to see 30. 30 was, you know, that was my life expectancy. I was, if I say 30, I'm doing well because of how fucking manic my life was. Whether that was fucking selling, taking drugs, or fucking buying drugs, or robbing, or it didn't matter what it was, like in between and walking. It was just so hectic and off the wall. There was no stability whatsoever. You know what I mean? At that stage.
I was talking to a fella yesterday, and me and him have real deep conversations, you know, and he was saying when he was at the height of his addiction that he lived completely in the moment. We were talking about freedom. That's what we were talking about, you know, because I was telling him about when I was away before Christmas there, I used to cycle around the town on an old 1980s push bike, you know, and the freedom I had, I didn't have to mind the dogs, didn't have to feed the dogs, didn't have to go to work. Well, I had to go to, I was working in a youth centre there, but the freedom of that, and he was saying, that's what it's like being homeless, Sparky. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, you just live in the moment, you know, living in the moment. You don't know where the next drink, or you don't know what's going to happen. He said, but, you know, you saying, I didn't even think I was going to reach 30, you know. So I remember being a punk when, you know, I didn't want to live past 21. That was part of the, you know, the guitar, like, you know, I don't want to live past 21. You know, when I got to 21, all I wanted to do was live. Yeah, our heads have lived dangerous place.
Yeah, no, it is. It's scary, and like, you know, and doing that whole process of in and out treatment, and like, you know, when I came out of treatment this time around, I had no understanding of what type of person I was. I knew what type of person I didn't want to be, and that was addicted to drugs. But I didn't know
you
what.
You tried all that.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? But, and in between, I had little bouts of a week here and 2 weeks, you know, when I went into treatment. Talking about psychosis, like, I know I wouldn't have went through for a long time, like, but when I went into MP, I went down to MP, like, and it's just cold turkey. And the first night I went in, I was, you know, because this is me last do-over, so I better bleeding swamp a load of things into me here, because I'm going cold turkey, and, you know, you talk yourself into, you know.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
yeah. Well, we'll just take loads of more drugs before we go into get off drugs. It's crazy. Like, and then when I went in, I think on the first or the second night, I woke up the next day and I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, I'm back out here, for fuck's sake. And then when I watched this Supersonic, you know, the documentary, the Oasis thing, Supersonic, and I'm watching that, and, you know, I'm only starting to come into me rattling about a day later. I'm in it, like, you know what I mean? I'm going through the withdrawals and all, and then I've vague memories of just coming awake, like, you know, face to face with the wall in my bedroom, and I was in this psychosis state where I thought I was interviewing Liam Gallagher's man, dad, down the country, because I must have vaguely seen it in the documentary or something. So I thought I was down in Mullingar, and I'm going, yeah, I'm trying to get Oasis over for some festival, and I'm interviewing the man, dad, like, you know what I mean? And then you just snap out of it, like, and you're wide awake, but you're staring at the wall, and you're like, what the fuck is that? Or that you start seeing these little things in the room, like you're seeing spiders on the floor crawling through this. Like, and it's scary how thin the veil is, like the lack of sleep, you're going through the withdrawals, but how thin that veil between reality and fucking illusion.
If you have a bad fucking flu, if I have a bad flu, I'm astral travelling. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think I'm bleeding Alice in Wonderland on the mushrooms. I'm big and then I'm small, and then I can't imagine when you're clucking, as you said. You use lovely words to describe it, but it's basically you're sick, your body is looking for gear, your body is looking for heroin, and your mind is doing fucking backflips to kind of resolve what's going on here.
Yeah, it's the aches and the pains you're not able to see easy, but it's also the lack of sleep. And when you think about it makes sense, like, you know, sleep deprivation, yeah, you end up having this waking sleep, to call it, like, but they used to do that when they were torturing people, like, you know what I mean? They used to, you know, the waterboarding, but also the sleep deprivation, because the less sleep your body has, you start going into it while you're awake, you have these waking dreams, like, you know, like this fugue state, like, you know. And it's the same thing then when you're doing the withdrawals, like, you know what I mean? You can go into psychosis. Like,
I remember living in Summerhill around the time where you would have been, to use the old phrase, strung out. And I looked out my window. I had a little apartment there with my brother. And I looked out my window down towards where the flats used to be, and it was what I can only describe as zombies. And then coming out to Ballymun and being beside the police station here, and more zombies. And it just seemed like there was a whole generation of people who got grabbed in a headlock by heroin, and there was joyriding, and there was bank robberies and all this type of fucking real gritty working class crime happening. And I see some of that in this community now. There's a lot of joyriding, there's crack, there's cocaine is as available as a fucking latte.
Yeah, we're out there. So you can't go into a bleeding pub or go to somewhere out going into you can with the use the jack. It's class like it was my ma's anniversary the other week, and when you go into the pub, like I was doing a bit of music there for the anniversary and stuff, and when you go into the jacks, like it's like everybody's on it, and it's like that no matter what pub you go into it in any part of bleeding Dublin. Do you know what I mean? You go in at certain times, like, and they're in and they're on it, and it's so available. And back then, I suppose in my generation, it would have been like like the North East, and it was ravaged with heroin. It was fucking ravaged, like, you know what I mean? And then like it's like an epidemic, like, you know, you had the drugs, like, you know, and this time around, it's weird because a lot of the people then are presenting for the cocaine, and they're going through the psychosis as well, like, you know what I mean? Because they're going through paranoids episodes from the cocaine, like, you know, and a lot of that is leading to the tablet taking, and you know, I was in treatment with a fella, and he's only a young fella, like, you know, he was at a party on the coke and wherever else, and somebody says, oh no, sure, we'll just cook her up, and he cooked up a bit of crack and he started smoking, and he was strung out the bits on the crack then after that. Tablets and crack, never touched heroin. So it's not even about the drug, like, you know what I mean? It's about where these things can leave people, like, you know. And if you're in a treatment centre anywhere, your life isn't that fucking great, mate. You know what I mean? You're not in treatment because you're doing so well, and you're not in treatment because
just because it's cocaine.
You could say whatever you want about whatever drug. It could be weird, like, you know what I mean? You're ending up, if you're in treatment, your life is at a fucking low point somewhere, whether that's mentally, physically, emotionally. You're not in a great place if you're in treatment.
And 14-year-old Eddie didn't think he was going to be smoking gear, and 29-year-old Johnny didn't think he was going to go from weekend lines to crack in a fucking shed and Coolock.
Like, I was drinking, like, I was listening to you there, Eddie, talking about interviewing Oasis's man dad. Like, I was on a train in 2005 going from Riga to China, you know, the Trans-Siberian Express, and we were in Moscow one night and we drank vodka, and I never drank vodka, but we were getting it for free and all, so we were like, right, and then the next day we got back on the train, right, and I decided, because of my behaviour the night before in Moscow, I decided I'd stop drinking. I used to do this all the time. I'd stop, because I knew, like, as you said, you know, far back somewhere in your psyche, you know. So I stopped drinking, right. I was lucky, it was me and my mate, and we were sharing a cabin with two doctors. They were a couple, Taz and John. They were from South Africa, and I got the DTs, right, and I woke up and I wanted to jump off the train. That's the truth, right? And that made logical sense to me to get off the train. So I woke John up, and I said to John, I'm going to jump off the train. He goes, what's wrong with you? And I said, I don't know. And he said, hold on a minute. He was a doctor, like, you know, and he just made a Coke, a vodka and Coke, and made me drink it. You know, that's what I had to do, like, you know, which is horrible, like, you know, but I fell asleep. I've been reading a book about this fella who was a spy in Africa. He was driving Land Rovers through Africa. And I remember the hallucination in the dream. It was real. Like, it was totally real that I was in that Jeep. Like, it was totally believable to me, you know. And then I'd wake up and I was on a train going through Siberia or something, like, you know. But it was a mad situation. Now, I stopped drinking. I did another white knuckle job on that trip. Like, I stopped drinking. At that time, I would have looked at people who were going into the recovery centre as less than me. You know what I mean? I would have been, that poor fella, look at poor Eddie. Eddie's gone into the recovery centre. And then I had to go into the recovery centre because when I stopped drinking, my mind was savaged. I was spiritually just broken, completely broken, and I was a completely broken person. And I couldn't do it on my own. Right? Yeah. So I started going to meetings. I used to go to meetings in Tala. I used to go to meetings about bringing it because I wouldn't go to a meeting in Ballymun. Yeah. And then I started hanging around with this bloke who used to be actually a member of the U Club as well. Like, you know, I started hanging around with him, and he was going to meetings and fingers and all that. And I'd be going in the door, like, oh man, who's going to see me here?
Shame.
And vulnerable.
Shame on you.
Vulnerable. And
For the things you do.
so I went in, and there was a man there, you know, and I was talking to him, and I was shaking, and I said, "What's wrong with your son?" And I told him, and he goes, "You'd no shame coming out of the towers, did you?" You know, he hit the nail on the head, because a week before I stopped drinking, this time, I was walking the dogs and I fell. I was holding the two dogs on leads, and they pulled forward, and I fell flat face onto my nose, and I had two black eyes, and I hid the black eyes with my glasses. It was I think it was the glasses gave me the black eyes. I had no shame in that. You know, I remember going to a gig in Ernesto's, like, you know, and just absolutely making a complete and utter show of myself. Like, there was more shame in falling out of the pub in an awful state than there was walking out of the recovery centre with a little bit of peace of mind. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I remember one of our mates, mine and Dino's mates, him and his wife were walking past. They were like, "What are you doing in there?" And I said, "This is my favourite answer to any of this. If people ask me, you know, coming out of the meeting on Saturday there, you know, and this one of the young people walks past and he goes, 'What are you doing there, Sparky?' I said, 'That's an adult education. It's about giving up alcohol.'" And they were like, "Oh yeah," they just went down. But I said that to me mate and his wife walking past. "I'm just doing adult education stuff in there." And that's not telling a lie.
No.
Because it is adult education. So there was a bit of shame attached to it. But now I just say, I'm in there getting a bit of count. That's fuck. Because of this, like, I started getting real on this, and I started to get real. And even like in the last couple of days, I'm starting to kind of lean into this. In the rooms we follow 12 steps, this 12-step program, you know, and I'm like the hokey cokey with it. Like, I started, I'm gonna do the steps, and then I just fall off after 6, like, and then so I was starting to get real about it, you know.
Yeah, that's not easy.
No,
you know what I mean? It's not easy. People fucking dodge work, especially about themselves. Like, you know, people just don't want to get into it. I remember I went into, when I started doing the NA meetings, and the fella was like, "Hey, you need to be down the steps," and so I got a sponsor, and the NA step walking guide, like, the 65 or 66 questions or something, step one, like, I remember starting it, like, you know, and I done the first 10 questions, and I answered them, and then I was like, I know all the answers to all these questions. I don't need to do them, you know, and I closed the book on it. So, yeah, because it was all about me anyway. So, of course, I knew the answers, but it was this kind of, look, I know what I'm doing, and I know what's what, like, and that's it. I mean, you're talking about the stigma, like, around meetings. So I used to have horrible stigma. Boy, I was ashamed that I was a drug addict. Do you know what I mean? I had the same stigma in me. I'd come out, I'd laugh about it with some of my friends as well. Like, you know, it was in recovery, you'd be like, what way was our head even thinking? I could be on the clinic and going through a stable period where I'm just taking, and by stable I mean I'm just taking me fight, and I'm just topping her up on the weekends with a few tablets and a few bottles of Burmers to wash it down. That to me was stable, yeah. And I'd be walking by a lane, and I'd see somebody in, you know, having a turn on, you know, in town. I'd walking by Abbey Street and see someone, and I'd be like, "This is poor cunt. I'd hate to be there." And I'm out me blaming back on tablets, and do you know what I mean? Yeah, it was that mental fucking
we saw a process. 17 used to do outreach work, and there was a great chipper in Ballymun. We seen this woman that we knew, you know, a young woman, and she was just had to get new treatment, you know. And one of us said to her, "Are you getting on?" She said, "I'm off everything." You could see she had a joint in her hand, like, you know, and she said, "I just smoke a bit of weed," and she said, "I have a few cans," and then, you know, what was it? She said, "A few tablets as well." Like, it was just like, in her mind, she was off everything. And I would have been like that as well. You said there, nobody wants to do the work, you know, or you find it really hard to do the work. I'll go along and I'll talk and then say what it is and da-da-da, that kind of stuff. But when I go back to the gaff and the head is fried, well, then it's no good. But when I do a little bit of the work, when I admit, you know, powerlessness and all that kind of stuff, it's a bit better. The day's a bit better. Like, it's not, I was just explaining this, you know, to somebody the other day. There's no bleeding lollipops, fucking bubbles and fucking fireworks going off in my life, you know what I mean? It's actually quite stable and quite calm. And I remember during the pandemic, we were having meetings at Fairview Park, you know, we're all standing out the side. I think I've said this before, my auntie and uncle walked by, I was saying to our father, and my auntie and uncle walked by. I was just like, "Oh, like, was talking to a woman there. I was getting a cup of coffee in the cafe, and I said, "You all right?" And she said, "No." I said, "What's up?" She said, "I'm just okay." And I said, "Oh, I'll have okay any day." I said the same thing. She said, "No, but I'm always happy." I know what that is, that always striving for happiness, always striving for something to be better than it is now, you know?
And then the opposite of that is the energy is up, so you're trying to, you keeping up this mask of being happy all the time and having the crack in the banter, like, you know what I mean? And but if you're not, and you're in a dark place, like, the energy it takes to do that is colossal, like, you know what I mean? It's so much energy to try and put that show on for people, like, And Scarce, when you're talking about little quotes, I love certain little quotes. Sometimes I obsess into them, and I was looking at this show and I was reading about this old quote because it was related to recovery and things like that. And so I'm saying, where's that even come from? Is that somebody in the room just make that up? Oh, what's the crack? Like, and so I got into it and I'm looking and it's about this old fable. Like, I think it was ancient Persia or something like that. And it's about this king. He loses his wife and his child and grief stricken. He's like, I want something that I can look at in good times or bad, but that's going to make me feel okay about both situations. And so, your man heads off and he comes back to the court and he says, "Yeah, I'm after finding you a ring, like, and he gives him this ring, like, and inside is the word, 'This too shall pass.'"
Yes.
And, when he's feeling grief-stricken, he wants a bit of guidance, like, or if he's feeling down, he looks at it and he goes, "Yeah, this too shall pass." Or if he's feeling happy and everything's going really great, and you know what I mean, that's going to pass too. It helps keep your ego in check, but it also helps you hang on that little bit longer. If you're in a really dark place, the worst thing you want to hear somebody saying to you is like, "You'll be grand tomorrow." Do you know what I mean? No, you'll be grand. Everything's not that bad. You know what I mean? It's hard to get through to somebody like that.
I think it might be Rumi, because I heard Ramdas talking about it, and Rumi goes, "This too shall pass." There's a kind of acceptance, and as Sparky was saying there in the rooms, there's kind of a surrender. I never got surrender up until recently, what the surrender thing is. And the surrender thing is, for me, sometimes we want to control the world with our brain, and we try that with our actions and our behaviours, and we become the chameleon. And even when people go into recovery, like as Sparky's saying, we're still playing the role, but there's a surrender to it and an acceptance of this too shall pass. And you mentioned your mother's anniversary, and this too shall pass. When did your mother pass?
I was only out of Enfield. I got out of Enfield. I went in January, I came out in March, passed away in April. In 2022. Yeah, pretty quick, like. Yeah, that was our second year anniversary. Yeah, it's crazy, like, when I think about it, because during COVID, my ma was terminal at the time. I wouldn't go back onto a clinic. When the last time I went into a clinic, I came off, I says, "I'm not going back in the clinic." But I was back using heroin, like, and I was back taking drugs and stuff. But I flat refused to go back down to a clinic. So I was linking in with merchants again. They were like, "Well, do you know what, if you just go on to, like a short term until you get into treatment." And I was like, "I'm not going on to methadone again." Because I knew if I fell into that trap, like if I went on to methadone, it'd be another 6 years, 7 years before I'd see treatment. Like, I'd get into that comfortability of methadone, kept me high every day. And my ma was terminal at the time, and I remember I was going down to Kerry, like, during the lockdown, and down to a house in Kerry in Valentia Island, like, for a few weeks. I'd get off, and for 2 or 3 weeks I'd come back to Finglas, I'd be fucking flat out. I'd be on the phone then, I'd be flat out again, and I couldn't pull it back. But all the while I was looking at her battling cancer, and she was losing weight, and then she'd be really sick, and I'd be talking to her, and she wouldn't take the painkillers. She was taking the cannabis oil, the hash oil, but she wouldn't take any of the other heavy painkillers. And in my head, I'm going out, I'm using an opiate to try and fucking dampen whatever pain I'm going through, but I'm not terminal and dying. Like, there's nothing, like, fundamentally, there's nothing physically wrong with me. And I'm watching my mother battle this disease, like, refusing to take
because they're so fucking heavy, and they block everything out. And what a blame woman, like, such integrity, always had, like, a lot of integrity. She knew what she was facing. She was facing it head on, like, you know what I mean? And then I says, "No, look, I need to get in, and I need to do something. I need to let her know that I'm going to be okay." And I went into treatment. I remember she came down to me, like, like heartbreaking, like, what's not coming down, like, because she was really sick at the time. I said, like, do you know what, I can't justify it, I can't justify me having to
put a little balm on me using heroin and alcohol, whatever it is, like, you know what I mean? I just couldn't justify it because I was watching somebody going through such a hard time and battling a disease that was slowly killing her, and she didn't need to do it. Not that she didn't want to do it, like, you know what I mean? So I just couldn't justify it when I came out. That was part of it, because, you know, one of the reservations was, what if I lost me man, like, you know what I mean? Would I want to drink? Would I want to block that out? You know, and it was actually the opposite for me, thank God, like, you know what I mean? It was like...
It's a lovely lesson that she gave you.
Yeah, I have a song actually that I wrote for her. Well, I started writing it, and during the time she started getting a bit sick, like, you know what I mean? And it just morphed into this kind of tribute for her that I done.
Beautiful.
I hadn't seen Eddie in years, like, you know, and you said that you were doing, you know, Recovery Cafe and all that. I don't know who suggested it to go up and sing for the young people in the house.
Yeah.
And you come up, and I just remember I fucked you in at the deep end, like, you know what I mean? I said, go into that room there and start singing. And they were just sitting there ripping the piss out, you know? And then this magical little moment happened, and I missed it, you know? I was outside the room, you know? Came back in, and you were singing an Oasis song, and then you sang a song. One of them says, you ever write your own song or something? You sang a song, and then they started listening. When you start talking about your money, you know, they started listening then, you know, and then it was like, why didn't you make coming back down, you know? And I remember ringing and saying, they're looking for you, and you were like, no.
Yeah, they wouldn't be looking for me.
But they were, and they still talk about you.
Yeah.
Keith and all them, yeah, they often say, what are you bringing out your mate back down with the guitar, you know? And I'd be saying to them, you ripped the piss out of him, and they were like, no, we did.
He's fucking traumatised. I'm mostly traumatised. He doesn't want to come back.
You stuck with it. I was added down that thing. You be grand, Eddie. You know? But
this too shall pass.
That's it, yeah.
That's what I was saying to you, and I felt bad now. But I think
this too shall pass. You were feeling bad about him, feeling bad about you, feeling bad.
Thanks, Rambas.
Roomy.
This is a song, from me ma. It's called Take It All. Well, I've seen you fall so many times. Try to take those broken wings and fly. Well, I've been through it all. Watched everything rise while I fall. But you take it all. Said you yeah, take it all. And take me down, and you won't see me around, and that's okay, 'cause you'll see me again someday. But you take it all. Said you yeah, take it all. Silence greets me like a friend. If you look, that's where I'll stand. Feeling washing over me, the memories flood till I can't breathe. It's in every part of me. How I listen, how I see. Oh, you're never far away. 'Cause in my heart, that's where you stay. That's where you stay. That's where you stay. That's where you stay. That's where you stay.
She took it all the
shit in life, I suppose, isn't it? All these things that come along, like, you know, and interrupt you. I'd have a lot of admiration for her, like, you know. She never complained, like.
she didn't take all the drugs.
She didn't need all the drugs, you know.
She took all the pain, all the love.
Pain, yeah, all the love, like, you know, and never complained about her.
This too shall pass. Oh, bro, that was beautiful. I seen the man reveal himself there.
Yeah.
I was thinking about your dad as well. I don't think I know your dad. I knew your dad. I don't even know if your dad is alive. I don't know what your relationship is like. But you had a mother and a father.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of me songs, like, you know what I mean, about addiction and stuff like that. You're talking about stigma, like, you know, and acceptance. Like, I had to come to a place, and you're talking about honesty as well, Sparky. I had to come to a place within myself that had to be so I'm actually an addict. And I used to do that as well, like dodging, and I'm up to a meeting there, and not going to do it there because I felt the shame of it. And this time around, the one thing that helped me was I came to that kind of acceptance, and you're talking about surrender. I came to this thing where, like, yeah, I'm an addict, but I am who I am, and I can't change the past of what I've done and what I've been through. And if somebody doesn't like that, you know, who I meet, like, you know, are out there, there's no, I'm in no control over it. You're talking about powers, I'm not in control, like, you know what I mean? But what I'd like to, I do that now, like, I go in, if I'm doing any open mics or gigs, I go in and say, yeah, listen, I'm in recovery, I was on drugs for a long time, this is what my songs is about, and this is who I am. I kind of put myself, you know, on display of it, like, you know what I mean, to a certain level, do you know what I mean, about, and try and get vulnerable that way, just to try and break down that bit of stigma. Why? Because, yeah, there's a fella sitting up there, yeah, he's all right now, well, you know, he's semi-alright, you don't see me, yeah, he's alright in public today. Now, but when they see me, they go, like, there's, like, that's somebody's son, that's somebody's brother, somebody's uncle, cousin, niece, it doesn't matter who it is, we all have family. And I think addiction across the board affects people, you know, whether they're in it or not, because you always know a friend of a friend, or, you know, a cousin, or there's always somebody who knows somebody who's being wrapped up in it. So for me, it's like, you know, to break down the stigma and, like, let people know, like, it is okay, and I'm all right with who I am today.
Yeah.
Whereas I would have never been.
I used to hear that when I was going into the rooms first. I used to hear these people saying, "I'm grateful for being an alcoholic." What's wrong with him? And now we get it, you know, because I think if I hadn't have had the journey that I have had, and that I haven't, you know, like, everything that I've learned, you know, about becoming an adult, I learned it in there. You know, I learned it from listening to you, I learned it from listening to other people like that people will show me, you know, I never knew, I heard the word humility, but I never knew what it was. I never knew what humility was. I never knew what, you know, a lot of the emotions that I felt, like, even being able to say the word vulnerable, like, you know, I was in A&E 10 days ago, you know, for high blood pressure, you know, and there was a bit of me didn't want to tell anybody, right? And it was the fear of being vulnerable. You didn't want to, the fear of being weak or something like that, And it was a vulnerability. But it was lovely to lean into it. It was lovely then to go, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell her, it is what it is. There's no shame in having, like, my ma was gas. My ma said to me, you're doing good. She says, you're nearly 60 and this is the first thing that's happened to you. And I was like, thanks.
Your first scare.
Your first scare. I was like, thanks, ma. Thanks for telling me I'm nearly 60.
There's an expectation we put on ourselves. I don't know where it comes from, that we should know what all these words mean. My one recently is hubris.
Yeah.
Humility, surrender, grace, gratitude. And you were talking about when you were using and you were looking at other people using, and you said, in your head, you were trying to suss out stuff, but you were probably 25, 26, 27. At that age, people are loading so much on top of themselves.
Yeah.
Never mind the age you are now, you're not fully developed emotionally, physically, psychologically. And I'm looking back at 14-year-old Eddie, who was living in a gaff where there might have been poverty or violence or addiction. And then you went on this magical journey that took you to a prison cell where there's a fella playing a guitar. You allow yourself into that space because something about that music helps. And something about that song you wrote about your ma helps. It fucking helped me there. And I'm sure there's people listening to this in the back arse of fucking Alice Springs. And this will help.
I was just actually talking to somebody recently and I was saying to them about the value that music has had for me in me recovery this time around. And I'd always done, even when I played music, like, you know what I mean, I'd always play it and I'd, be in the odd band here, but I'd never be singing. I'd never have the confidence to sing. I'd no confidence whatsoever. Why? Because I was a drug addict and ultimately I seen myself as the lowest of the low. So I'd never put myself out to do anything, And I suppose coming this time around, I says, yes, no, I'm going to do what do I always wanted to do, what do I actually love, and it's music. Not just for, listening to it, yeah, but for the writing of it. Why? Because when I came into recovery, it allowed me to express what was going on. I couldn't identify what feelings I was going through when I came into recovery. I didn't know if I was happy, sad, excited. I couldn't put my finger on the actual feelings. But when I was starting to write the songs, when I'm writing my music, like, you know what I mean, it was usually when I emotionally I was in a bad place, I found that I picked up the pen because I needed to get this feeling out of me. But I didn't have the vocabulary to be able to communicate it. And even if it was in there, I couldn't put it together into a sentence that people would understand. It'd be playing gobbledygook, you know what I mean? It just sounded off the wall. I'd start saying one thing and I'd be talking about something else within a second because I couldn't fucking verbalise where I was at. And I was talking to somebody about doing a creative writing workshop, and I was saying, like, for people in addiction, I said, because what I found was that even if I start writing, if I put addiction as a subject matter on the head of a page and let's say write addiction or love or, any kind of generic, thing you'd want to write about, you'd start writing, like, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, say love is blah, 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 blah. But you would get self-reflective then. You'd be like, how does that impact me? You'd start writing about yourself nearly involuntarily, like, you know what I mean? Because you're identifying with whatever you're writing when you're putting the pen to the paper. And when I'm looking back at some of the songs, I can go, I know what I was going through there. So at that point, I was really vulnerable there and I was really sad, like, you know what I mean? Or, I'm actually in a hopeful part of me, like, that's, like, to me, to be hoping, my missus would be like, "Jeez, will you ever write a happy song? Will you, for Jesus' sake?" Like,
these are happy songs.
yeah, but a lot of songs, it's like, and a lot of it is, work on myself, like, you know what I mean? And they feel right at the time, and what I'm writing about is relevant to what I'm going through. So it's helping me express and identify what emotions and feelings I'm going through at that particular time.
You helped me, Eddie, and you don't even know that you helped me, right? But you're in college as well, like, I'm in college and I was struggling. Like, there was this day I was struggling. I didn't realise you were in college, but you were telling me that you were in Ballymun.
Yeah, right.
You just said a couple of things to me and it just helped me get round the corner, And I went home and I was just struggling with a piece of work, an essay. It was I had applied for an extension and the extension was gone. It was just like nothing. I would have a lot done, but I wouldn't believe in it, you know. And you said something to me, and I just went home and I just pulled the laptop out, and from about 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock I fixed it, and I sent it in at 11 o'clock that night, you know. But you know, I appreciated that you had the time to listen to me, you know, and you know, your suggestion was golden, like, you know. And I think that's to look at you now, like, you know, Dean said that, you know, he's seen the man. I seen the man when you come up to the club that night and you were playing the guitar, like, you know what I mean. I seen a whole different person, and that's the miracle of recovery, isn't it? You know, like, I was on a Zoom meeting last night, and there's people from New York that hadn't seen me, you know, in 2 years, like, you know, because I kind of started going back to face-to-face meetings, and they were like, oh my God, look at you. You look so content and happy, and, you know, I'm looking at the miracle, and I was like, oh, you actually feel it, you know. I'm starting to kind of, you know.
We thought you died. We heard you had a scare.
Yeah.
The high blood pressure got you.
That happened to me last week. I was coming out somewhere, and this fella said, how are you, Sparky? And I was just about to say to him, you were dead, right? And how I actually stopped myself from saying it. My dad's mate's wife knocked at the door one day, and my dad was had to go out to the shop, and this woman was crying, and she said to me, Ma, oh God, Dolores is terrible. I said, what's wrong? And she said, about Mick. My dad, he's dead, right? So what I heard he died. And my ma was thinking, is he had to be in a car crash or something like that? And but the elf came home, you know, and he was absolutely disgusted. I think to this day, like, I was talking to him about it recently, and he's still disgusted about it.
So you're in college?
Yeah, I'm just finishing up now in my second year, yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. I'm doing music performance.
In
Ballymun. Yeah, in the rock school up there.
Who would have thunk it?
I'll tell you, I wouldn't have thunk it about me anyway, because, like what I was saying with Sparky, like, you know, academically, like, you know, I wouldn't be great on computers and all that, like, you know, but I would have done a lot of reading in prison and stuff, and over the years, like, I used to always read because it was another escaping with. And so a lot of the time I'd be sitting looking at, you know, assignments and stuff, and in my head I know exactly what it is they're looking for, but I can't translate that onto the computer in a concise assignment to hand over. So I was nearly, like, you know, knocking myself constantly, going, yeah, look at you, I don't even know what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? But I think for me confidence, like, you know what I mean, just performing, being asked to perform by people, like, you know, saying, oh, I like such and such a song, and, you know, when I'm talking, and that's, like, over that period I started college to now, you know, I think there's such a difference in me as a person, you know what I mean, not just musically, like, you know what I mean as a person, you know. I just feel like I've got a lot of growth. And when Sparky's talking about, like, you know, coming, I went into the realms at the start, and people are talking about the miracles happening around here and the miracle of recovery. I'm sitting there now, oh, fucking miracle they're talking about, because I'm not getting a bleeding miracle here. Like, where's all my stuff, like, you know what I mean? I thought, yeah, brand new cars, and, you know, my perception of what they were talking about was skewed. You know what I mean? When people talk about, you know, the miracle of recovery, like, you know what I mean, and a life beyond your wildest dreams, I used to associate that with all the material shit. And even I'd be like, life beyond your wildest, where's my life? Like, you know, I'm great, I'm after coming into recovery. Oh, that's irrelevant, yeah. My ego, and I had to be humble, as you were saying, like, you know, and go, well, what have you done to create a life while you've been in recovery? Well, you've done your day program, you've done your aftercare, you've done, you know what I mean, your meetings, you know, you've hit me little targets, like, you know what I mean, you've went to college, you've completed that, you've been gigging, you've been doing, you know. So when I stop and take a minute to actually reflect on it, I go, yeah, that's the life I want. What am I talking about? I'm talking about being content, literally, you know, waking up in the morning after sleeping the night before, why? Because I'm not up out stroking or looking for money or looking to, you know, gain anything off anybody. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not going through a process of trying to manipulate people into getting what I want, because it's all about Eddie. Yeah, there's things in my life I wish were different, you know what I mean? There's things that could be better, and a lot of it through my own actions from my addiction that I have no control over now, like, you know what I mean? But I'm trying to live a better life. I'm trying to, you know, have a better life. I have a lot of things that I feel blessed to have in my life today, whereas, you know, I would have never even thought about. I would have never been grateful for anything.
What would 14-year-old Eddie think about the man that's sitting in front of me now, who can carry himself into a room, who can sing a song about his mother who had cancer and not get self-conscious and shy and shame and embarrassed. What would young Eddie think of that man?
Yeah, I don't think he'd recognise him, to be honest. He wouldn't recognise who I was, because I was a background person, like, you know. I'd sit in the corner, you know, be the wallpaper, you know, just to get through, you know, any situation. I'd never put myself up in front of anything, you know, because I was too afraid to be judged, like, you know, by people, or worrying about what other people thought me. And I hope, like, he'd be proud that, you know, and I hope my ma's looking down and she's proud that, you know, I'm trying to take control of my life, however late in the game it is, like, you know what I mean. I'm trying to do something with my life for me, do you know what I mean? So I'm happy, so I can get up and look in the mirror and go, you know what, I actually like what I see, what I'm doing. I like the person I'm becoming, because before I couldn't look in the mirror. I didn't like to look at me.
Yeah, the relationship you had with yourself was stroking, doing drugs, doing people over, and the relationship you have now looks like some kind of acceptance. We all have fears and pains and anxieties and dreams and aspirations and miracles, and
I talk about, like, see that bracelet, like, you know, a woman gave that to me in Ballymun. It was something family based, and it says "Be Kind" on it, right? And I done a song, and she turned around after she were all 3 or 4 of them crying, like, you know, and I was like, what the fuck's going on, you know?
you didn't rob them, did you?
I go, what's going on?
You done a smash and grab.
And I'm looking over and I'm going, fucking hell, something's bleeding wrong here, like, they're all sobbing, and I went down, and the woman came, and she was just like, they'd lost sons through addiction, and one of the other woman, our son was missing, owing out money, and he's gone hiding and stuff. And so she was talking to me, and she was just like, I'm really proud of you, you know, and you should be really proud of yourself. She says, I never usually take this off, she says, but I want to have it. And I'm looking at it, I goes, yeah, no, that's lovely. And at the time, it wasn't long after my ma passed away, and another mother coming off to me telling me they were proud. I kind of felt, so I was getting like emotional, and I was like, you know, oh fucking hell, you know, getting worked up. And she gave me the bracelet, and she was like, I see that. She says, that's for you. And then, yeah, don't worry about everybody else, be kind to yourself. And that really hit me, like, you know, I was like, you know what, fucking how right she is, like, because I fucking slaughtered myself. For a long time, I was like, you're a fucking scumbag, you're nothing, you're worthless, you're this, you're that.
Yeah.
I'd slaughter myself. I look at that bracelet sometimes, anytime I'm gigging, I bring it with me, like, you know, just have that bit of gratitude. You know what, you don't know what people are going through on a day-to-day basis. We all assume that people have these great lives, but we don't know what people are going through. And the smallest little thing I could, like, it could be said to me, or I could say to somebody else, but even having that bit of compassion and that bit of time to say this, and hope there is something out there to help you reach out to people, and might give them the incentive to, you know, ring up that mother or that brother or wherever and ask for help. But you can change people's lives, the direction of people, because my life was changed. You know, anytime something like that happens, it's profound, because it makes me see life in a different way, and it might just change the direction I'm going in. So, what I mean, I look at that and I go, you know what, yeah, I'm going to be kind to people, right? But I'm also going to be kind to myself. And it's a double reminder, like, you know, that to be conscious that you don't know what people are going through, you know?
Yeah, there's one I got from Ramdas, which is work on yourself to help you work with others, and work with others to help you work with yourself. That back and forth kind of dance that you do. And the music helps. What's the recovery cafe Sparky was talking about?
That's just like that for people in recovery, like, you know, they link up into this community, go for a coffee, you know, have a chat a bit.
And do you play at it?
The odd time drop into recovery cafes, play a few covers, a few tunes, like, you know what I mean, for people. And around recovery month, do you know what I mean?
What's the big song that fucking gets all the energy, the feeling, the love?
When it's the recovery month, people kind of like leave a light on, just because it's linked to, you know, have that bit of hope, like, you know.
What's that one that Willie White sings? The higher I build my barrier.
Yeah. I like that song as well. But I got into this thing, like, where when I'm doing the gig, you know, I'll be playing my own songs, whereas before I wouldn't have. You know, I'd play what's popular, it's like, you know what I mean? But now I'm starting to kind of put reinforced by putting my own music out there, because when I'm doing recovery and songs are about fucking addiction and recovery, why would I not do them? Like, you know, getting around, as you said, helping other people. Sometimes people come up and they're like, oh, yeah, I needed to hear that song, or really enjoyed that performance, or I took them away from something for a little small bit of time, like, and can't ask for more than that.
Will you give us one to finish off?
I actually have a new song I wrote called Butterfly.
Butterflies in the belly.
I was just thinking, as you were talking about people using the names, like, you know, when you go through Dublin, like, you know, one of the hardest things for me is that you see a lot of people, like, you know, when they're active in their addiction, like, you know, or even homeless, like, you know what I mean? You kind of want to reach out and tell them, like, there is a way out, like, there is freedom from that pain, like, that you're going through. And the hardest thing is that, you know, they're not probably in a position to hear you, or you're not in a position to actually, you know, help, like, you know what I mean? So you're kind of, I see a lot of people, like, you know, in addiction, and it's just sad, like, you know what I mean? But I suppose the song is about not giving up, like, that you can make that transition. Like, you can be, I've been in the same state, in the worst possible state, where you're not thinking that you're coming out the other side, like, you know what I mean? But just to see, you know, from where I was to where I am now, like, you know what I mean? I was just reminded that.
I was coming out of the garage, this was what I was going to say. I was coming out of the garage the other day, and there was a guy sitting there, and we all know him, like, you know, and he's Ballymun, and he's, you know, he's begging, and again, you know, I bought milk and stuff like that, you know, just said, I didn't know what to get him, but I really wanted to just get chatting to him, you know, and he's quite in your face, like, you know, and he's like, and I just at one stage I got to say the sentence, you need to look after yourself. There was another person came into the mix, like, you know, and then there was like, senior copper and all this kind of stuff, all that kind of stuff, and I was going mad. I was thinking, I want to get this message to him, like, you know? So as I was going back to the car, he walked up behind me and he says, I heard you saying that, you know, and it was just like, you.
But on that particular day, he probably just needed to hear from you, you know what I mean?
You know, and then I said to him, you need to mind yourself, you know, and it's only you, you know, it's only by you starting that process or something like that, you know. I got to say it, you know, it was a different thing. I didn't want to be, you need to get into treatment and you need to do this, because I would do that. I'm the fucking king of that child, like, you know. But I do think that sometimes a kind of word or a kind of touch, like that thing that on your arm, just be kind, you know. Sometimes that strikes with us, like, you know, when somebody says, I remember when I was drinking, you know, people would be giving out to me about it, like, you know. But there was actually one woman, I went to a meeting one night and she was just really kind to me, you know, and that brought me back more than, you need to do this, get on the steps, get a sponsor, and I was like, fuck off. So I need to understand that and do more of that. The thing that Dean says about Ramdas is we call that the 12 step.
Work on yourself to work on others, and work on others to work on yourself.
This song is called Butterfly. Walking through these back city lanes, needles on the ground, people slowly waste away, pupils dilate again, light fades from their eyes, feel the rush running through your veins, and hurt is gone for a while, but a while doesn't last too long. Wanna take you by the hand and show you a better way, let you know you're not damned. There's freedom from the pain. But why does it all seem so hard? Why does it feel, why does it feel, and why does it all fall apart? Why does it seem, oh, why does it feel so? Well, it's always darkest just before the dawn. You're a butterfly, stay strong. And it's always darkest just before the dawn. And you're a butterfly, stay strong. But why does it all fall so hard? Why does it feel it? Why does it feel so? And why do we all fall apart? Why does it feel, oh, why does it feel so? Well, it's always darkest just before the dawn. And you're a butterfly, stay strong. 'Cause it's always darkest just before the dawn. And you're a butterfly, stay strong.
That's beautiful, didn't he? I kind of got lost in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was deadly. I had a real moment there.
That's nice. Yeah, that was beautiful, yeah.
Cheers.
It's lovely because there's moments of like tension in it as well, but there's the beauty of the butterfly, and to not get too romantic. I think this is the butterfly in front of us.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a big change, like, you know. And as I said before, yeah, before you try to make that decision to do it, and you can be in a really dark place, like, you know. But there is light, like, you know, another song where it's like, I'm talking about it's okay not to be okay, but it's like when somebody says to you, you know, there's hope out there, like there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's really hard to see when you're in such a dark place.
Absolutely, yeah.
But when you're talking to somebody who's been through it and you're listening to their experience, it gives you that little bit of hope. Like, you know, he's actually went through it now. Yeah, he's saying his life isn't, you know, rainbows and butterflies, like, you know what I mean? But it's a damn sight better than being fucking, you know, back on drugs and in a box bedroom and your ma's maybe are in a fucking tent on the canal, like, you know what I mean? Be damn sure of that.
Eddie, thanks.
Yeah,
That was actually, like, that was definitely one of my favourites now, I have to say, you know, because I think, like, you said something there about not being able to express yourself. I don't know whether you heard yourself, but in the first 4 minutes of you talking, you just absolutely, like, totally explained it, like, you know. I was deadly. You do have the words, like, you know, I know with college and all that, like, I find it really hard to, I can speak it, but to get it from there onto the page is like a marathon, like, you know. Thank you so much. That was a great podcast.
Thanks for that for having me. It's
No, it's great.
a pleasure coming back out, like, you know. It's great to see Dean, it's great to see you, like, you know, and staying linked in with people, like, you know, because you would have had a big impact on me growing up, like, you know what I mean, because yeah, you was walking into the light back then, because you take us out of those dark places of our life, you know, and things was shit, and you know,
and now it's returned because you're having a big impact on us, which is savage, like, you know.
yeah, it's swings and roundabouts, huh? Yeah, no, it's brilliant.
Ramdas.
This too shall pass.
That's the truth. You're feeling great, Ed. I enjoy the podcast.
Yeah. You were talking about me and that and the chum and your bar and all this came up. What's going on now? Fucking you big mouth. You're always a mouth. Eddie Winston.
Thanks.
Edward Winston. Thank you very much. Great to see you, brother.
Good to see you, too. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Here, fuck off, will you? Fresh, yeah?